Guys, here we go. I'm gonna do another video for you guys. Recently me and my dad made a lathe tool, a homemade lathe tool. Dad turned on my Shopsmith lathe, and I posted on Facebook on a wood turning page, like for beginners and stuff. And I had a lot of inquiries about how I do it myself, and a lot of people interested in how they make homemade tools. So I decided, hey, I'll show you some of the tools I made myself from my very first one, which is, kind of rough, to my latest one. And today I'm going to show you the process of how I go ahead and make one. I got another one I need to make, so I'm going to just show you some of the tools I made before, and I'll show you a little video of prepping the handle and making the handle and assembling it. So let's get to it. So here's you can see it here. Here's one of the very first tools I ever made. I've got some sawdust on it. Simple pipe. You see it has a ground edge down to the sharp edge, and it would seem to work. It's the first like a gouge kind of tool made, and when it got dull, I just kept turning it and turning it and turning it until I was done with it. So that's the first tool I made. Here's a little more advanced to that version. That's another simple piece of pipe. I got the right grinding edge. I fit it inside another piece of pipe, ran a screw down through it, and wrapped some tape on it. Like I said, I know they're kind of crude. Nothing too fancy, but it does work well. It's one of my favorite ones to use. I use this all the time. Here's one I made, me and Dad made. They're a simple thing. Just put a screw through it, throw on a piece of pipe, just an extra piece of metal I had. I use this for like a rough gouge to get the bark and knock off the corners and stuff on my different projects I'm working on. I use this one a lot too, just for beginners starting my projects. Next one I made, I seen those ones that always had like a carbide tip that's curved for doing inside of bowls. For when I used to work at Genmar, I used to run a header, and we always had scrap metal from machine malfunctioning, or we missed the hole and we formed the bolt. But here's one of the things that happened. Kind of flattened out the metal for me. I just put a good edge on it. I made this handle. It's a maple handle. Use a piece of pipe for the ferrule, and it seems to work great for doing bowls and stuff. It's nothing. I'm going to order some carbide tips and stuff like that, but for now, making homemade stuff is pretty cool. It works really well. The last one I made is a piece of carbon steel. It's got the right edge for it. This is good for scraping or removing a lot of wood at one process, but this one's one of the better ones. Just made it with a piece of ash handle. There's another piece of pipe for ferrule, but it's actually one of the better made ones. If you can see that or not. It has a black resin inside to hold everything in place. So it's actually kind of one of the more fancy homemade ones, and it works quite well also. The piece of wood I'll be turning here to make another handle for another like a scraper I need to make, is actually a handle I started making for this one, but it turned out they had a lot more bug damage and bug tunnels in it than I thought there would be, so I kind of set that aside for now, and then I grabbed a piece of ash. It's about the right length I needed, and it turned out quite well. I really love this. I think it's really pretty. So this one's already partially turned. I did fill in some of the bug damage and bug tunnels that was in it, and I'm going to go ahead and switch you guys over to the stand, and I'll get started working on this. I'll give you a little peek of what it looks like so far. That's cool, baby. This is made out of a piece of maple. So I started turning it down for a bigger piece of pipe, but I'll get that smaller. I got the right diameter for the piece of pipe I'm going to use because it's going to be a smaller tool. Yeah, it just had a little small hole here at the end, and as it turned, it got deeper and deeper, more bug damage. So I went ahead and filled this with actually a fiberglass resin I wanted to try. It pours real nice and filled in real nice, and I put some black pigment in it. Now once this is all sanded down and I put my clear coats on it, that will turn black, coal is black. So it's turning really nice. So I'm eager to see what it's going to look like when it's done. So Then get you switched over and get some of these tools going here, and we'll get this sucker shaped up and sanded down and finished, and then we'll do the next process of assembling. Alrighty, I think it's about where I want it to be, the shape-wise. I still got some work to do up here on the front end of it. I'll move the camera for that. Right now I'm going to go back here and I'll put my little design in here. I always like to put like a little bead back here. Yeah, it looks good. Just started hitting a little bit of the resin right there. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. I like that little bead. All I gotta do left is to sand this part down here, or up here, and then I'll move down here and I'll show you what I do when I figure out what size pipe I'm going to use for the ferrule. Alrighty guys, I got this position back where it needs to be for for narrowing down for the pipe. And here's my piece of pipe. You can use any old piece of pipe. This is a piece of pipe I had left around. You can cut it either using a Dremel tool with a blade or a hacksaw, which I cut this one with, or if you got a chop saw or metal blade for your bandsaw, you can use pretty much anything, or even a angle grinder. But you know, just a piece of metal that helps secure and strengthen this in here where your tools will be going into. And the only thing I do, like I said, this is already done for another tool I was working on, but I decided to use a different piece of wood. As I go ahead and take these little calipers, which I mean these are just a cheap set of calipers, and I get the inside dimension, which is about right that. So as I'm working, I'll keep going over this and make sure it's the right fit. And then once I get that done, I'll do this little edge right here a little bit just to soften this, give it a, so it's not so just cut off sharp here. And then I'll commence the sanding it and finishing it, and then we'll put everything together. So let's get going with this. see where we're at with this. Not quite there yet, but as you also could see, I made this so it just barely, when I go to cut this off, it just barely be under that pipe for when I go fill my resin in there, so it makes it nice clean look to it. So let's take a little bit more off. Yeah, that's going to be a perfect fit for that. And then, perfect. Just how we like it. Alright. So now that I got that done so it'll fit inside the pipe, I'm going to go ahead and cut around this edge off and just give this a little class, a little detail here. I might take this down just a little bit more, and so it fits a little bit better. So here we go. Like if you do the straight Morocco. So that'd be it for that. Like I said, all I gotta do is go back here and I'll do some sanding on that. Which, I mean, I got some of these foam sanding blocks. I always remove this out of the way. Let's all this out of the way. You want to get your fingers caught and somehow pull yourself down in there, your hand pulled down in there. And like I said, I use, starting with heavier grit and work my way down. This is like a spongy sanding pad. I actually picked these up at the Dollar Tree today, so I'm going to try out. It's $1. I mean, some of them could be up to like $6-7 for one, but there's $1, so I'm going to try it. Looking pretty good, actually. So, for a handle, I ain't too worried about a big finish. Not like a big, smooth, perfect finish. I want it to look pretty decent, so I'm just going to go in here and probably put 3 coats of sanding sealer on it. And then I'll take it in and cut this all apart with my bandsaw, and I'll drill and tap this out, and then I'll assemble the thing. So, let me get started on doing some sanding sealer here, and I'll show you how to do that. I won't take you through all the steps. I'll probably put 3 coats on, and you lightly sand in between each coat. So I'm gonna get started on that. A little bit better. Really, I put a pretty good heavy coat, my first coat, and let it soak in quite well, especially if it's real good dry wood. And that'd be it. So I'll let this coat dry, and I'll come back and I'll sand it again. and I'll keep adding coats to it, but I won't let you won't make you guys have to view that. So when I get done with that, I'll bring you guys back and I'll show you the finished product of the handle being done. Alright guys, as you can see, I got my handle done. I got my 3 coats of just simple desk sanding sealer on it. That's all. I mean, it's just a working handle. It's not supposed to be too big and fancy. You can make it as fancy as you want. I just put 2 coats. See the little fiberglass resin accent in there? It did all right. It cut all right, sanded down all right, but like I said, it turned coal black like I said it would. It missed a little spot filled in there, but I ain't too worried about it. But what I do first, I have my piece of pipe, and I cut and got ready and prepped. And this should be just a loose, snug fit. There we go. I allow for some epoxy resin to get down into, or some epoxy to get down and around the edge of the pipe to help hold it on and helps strengthen the wood. So now that I got that fixed, or put on there, I'm going to use some of this Gorilla Glue 2-part epoxy. It's clear, but I'm actually going to mix some black dye in it. It's very super concentrated, so you got to be careful with that stuff. I'm going to mix some of that in there with it. Just a dab will do it. And how I left just the top of this pipe sticking above the wood, it allows me to go in and any extra epoxy, fill it in, clear to the top of the pipe here so it seals in all the wood completely around, which makes it look for a nice clean finish. But I'm going to go ahead, this little dentistry tool Dad uses also in his taxidermy shop. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. I already went ahead and poked a hole. I got a hole started where I'm going to drill out for mine. I always like to put the pipe on. It seems it strengthens the wood and helps hold it together, make sure it don't crack on you. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this stuff up. There we go. There should be plenty. Lid back on that. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up. Make sure you mix this stuff up good. You want to have a good bond and have it set correctly. Alrighty, that's mixed. Take a little rag here. Old t-shirts at yard sales are good for little rags, for like little shop rags. Take just a little bit of this stuff. You gotta watch. Sometimes you need to wear gloves with it because it will sting your fingers a little bit. Super concentrated black dye. Like I said, I should wear a glove, but it'll be alright. It won't take very much. Just and that's that. Now, that should take like 5 minutes for that to set up. I'm going to go ahead and add some here to the pipe. And then once I get that set, I'll go ahead and drill this out. Okay. Another thing I do is take a piece of tape. This happens to be just like regular vanilla Scotch tape, and I'll wrap it around here just in case there might be a leak from it and you want to get down on your handle. Okay, so that's that. I'll let that sit over here for a second. And I'll go ahead and get my hole going here for the piece of metal I got. Now that was just my pilot hole. Now this one here is the size hole I need. A little test fit. Now this is a simple scraping tool made. A little bit tight fit, so force out just a little bit more. Still seems to be a little bit tight fit. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to stop the camera. I'll go and I'll just knock these corners off just a little bit, okay, and it should be perfect. You can see I just knocked some of that edge off. You can see that not focusing right. Will help to fit. So now it fits quite well. All this is like this regular square stock, stainless steel square stock. You can make these and then drill these out and actually use the carbide tips. If you wanted to buy some carbide tips, you just basically grind them out, and then you drill and tap the holes, and you can make yourself a carbide tip, which I might end up doing with this one eventually. It's got a pretty good edge on it right now, so I'm eager to try this tool out. Alright, so now that's done. I'll go ahead get the epoxy resin on this. There we go. So now that's in. All I'll do is take this excess epoxy. Starting to set up on me already. Must be a little bit warmer than I thought. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to do this and still do it on cameras. That should be good now. Take your little rag here. Wipe off your excess that you don't want outside your pipe. Tool. But that's basically it. So then all you gotta do is let it dry, and once it dries, you'll be set to go. Which, you know, like I said, use 5-minute epoxy, so it should be able to go here pretty soon. But I'll bring you guys back right after this commercial break and word from our sponsor. Now, for our sponsor. Well, I don't have any sponsors, but if you want to be a sponsor, please send me a message on my YouTube channel. Leave me a comment. Make sure you guys like and share this. Anything will help me out. So give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Leave me a comment. If you want to be a sponsor now or in the future, hey, send me a message. Alrighty, guys. It's been, about 10 minutes or so. I did a little cleaning prep on it, but it's finally done. Just a simple little tool that you guys can make at home, and it saves you a little bit of money. I just had some scrap metal, scrap wood. This is a tree maple tree I cut down, an old one in the backyard. This is one of the limbs off of it. So you yourself can make your own tools just as easy as anybody can. It's not complicated, it's not hard to do, and it's quite enjoyable, especially when you're new to the lathes and you want to get some experience under your belt. But anyways, I'm rambling on here, so I'm go ahead and let you take a look. I gotta finish the bottom still. Simple little lathe tool actually does work quite well. Nice piece of maple. Always put that little grip thing down there. This feels good in my hand. This is about the length I like to make it, the handle wise. But there's that black epoxy in there. It's all nice and set, and it makes it look kind of, I don't know, more professional. I don't know. Just my opinion. There's a nice little edge. And it works quite well. I've used this tool before, putting a handle on it just to try it out, but it works quite well. And like I said, you can make it out of just any kind of square stock, any kind of scrap metal you might have around. But thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope this gave you guys some ideas of some things you can possibly do, and go enjoy yourself. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Leave me a comment. I'd really appreciate it. I'll respond to any comments I get. And don't forget to share and subscribe. So, till later, guys. I hope you have a good day and be safe and happy wood turning. Later.